Hello, hello! Bl'Artagnan here with All Will Become Nothing, the Act 3 finale Shinryu fight. I mean, finale this time, none of this like interim climax part 1, whatever have you. We're bringing in Man to Void Challenge Team featuring Beatrix, Faris, Aerith, Gladio, Lude, and Necro. 6-man, let's do this. Before we get into it, be sure to hit the like button on that video and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Enjoy the content on the channel, want to see more like it, want to support, you know, the stuff like that. So we're fighting the Cloud of Darkness, like the big Cloud of Darkness, the big scary Cloud of Darkness. We have been chewing through the Final Fantasy final bosses. It was actually kind of cool, like all the refights they had us do, thematically anyway. I mean, you know, kind of doing a bunch of Lufania fights with overpowered characters is maybe not the most engaging gameplay, but I'm sure more than one of us was tripped up by some of the mechanics. I, for one, forgot to say for Sephiroth had a Brave floor, but that didn't end up stopping me. So what do you got going on here? We have Cloud of Darkness along with a couple of tentacles. Pretty spooky, pretty scary, very big and green. You can see it. And once it hits 30% on that force gauge, it makes you delay every turn whenever you act. Kind of, you know, similar like Numb or something like that. And that kind of basically says you gotta use all turn damage. I mean, not have to, but like, the enemy's gonna be getting a lot of turns, and they throw out a lot of HP attacks. So you're gonna want to be able to mitigate that somehow, and that usually means some kind of, you know, counterattack trap type things in addition to tanks. Like, I guess you could just use like Warrior of Light or something. It's up to you. In addition, Cloud of Darkness will be periodically throwing out Induction Beam, which is a AoE delay, or Uncanny Beam, which is a single target delay. Lots of beams. It's kind of its whole gimmick. The Force Attack is coming in just a second, which is why we use Beatrix's Holy Knight Safeguard there, just to keep ourselves safe, because it hits kind of hard. It gets a bunch of resistance at different points of the fight to like Brave and or to physical and magic damage. You're supposed to be kind of alternating and swapping between the two, but I didn't pay attention to that. I just kind of batteried for the most part. For the most part, I'll say. There are definitely times where I probably just should have been paying attention to that. But anyway, there we go. It's reset, so we are once again not getting delayed. That said, very easy to charge up again because the enemy force gauge charges up by an additional 2% every player action. So we've seen that force attack a lot. You'll see here, I have Necro out because I'm trying to set up something. This is honestly a bit of a waste of time. Spoilers, but we did bring out the Rydia Call. We're going to be using Lude's FR here. As I said to myself, this is a lot of boss help, and I don't want to have to deal with it like the fair way, so we're going to go ahead and cheat our way through it. Using the Necro nuke thingy, you know, the hope spam thing. We don't have hope here, so we're going to use Aerith with the Rydia LD Call to make up for that. And that plus Luna Freya plus an LD spam should hopefully do something. I realized watching this back that I actually wasn't paying attention to whether it was like magic or physical resistant, and that probably was something I should have paid attention to, but, well, it's in the past now. So we're gonna go ahead and hit that Astral Annihilation. Boom. I mean, 14 million damage is pretty solid. We're just do it again, and do it again. And I was kind of hoping for a little more damage than this, but like, the boss has like 280 million HP? Like, double, like, most bosses. Plus, the minions on the sides, they absorb a lot of your AoE damage as well for AoE attacks, so it's functionally even more than that in kind of practical ways, because the little dudes heal up all the time. Well, they do heal up until you hit 80%, at which point it dispels the ones that it had, which are just spamming Protect and Haste, just kind of being supportive, and replaces them with these very aggressive ones that go bzz and shoot with the lightning. However, that's all part of our plan now, because we have swapped our team around again, with Gladio back here along with Beatrix. That whole thing with Necro and Lude was kind of a waste of time. But the other 4 people are going to actually be helping here. Aerith actually had something subtle, a subtle important thing that she did at the beginning of the fight, because at the start of the fight, and at 80% and at 30%, they hit you with the blind, and that's just kind of annoying. With one turn of blind, you could like, you know, AA your way through it, but then you're charging the enemy force gauge by 2%. So I just figured, you know what, let's just start with Aerith and swap her in whenever a blind would be imminent, because that would suck. Here's the force attack again. Ow, that hurt. So you're probably wondering, okay, you know, Bl'Art, so you got like this off-turn team, but I'm not 100% sure what your plan is here because I'm seeing some like pseudo anti-synergy here. We're actually going to force time in a moment. But not right away, because we actually want to set up, we want the enemy's force gauge to be at least 30%. I'll get back to that point I was talking about before later. The fight's certainly long enough that we have time. It's triple speed, by the way. This is triple speed recording, which I have not had to do in quite some time. So you're welcome for that time respecting there. I could have done double speed, but who has time for that? Using the cryo call here before going to force time to let them trigger the paralysis and kind of use up the paralysis so we can actually get counterattacks during the force time. We'll get a Beatrix FR tech, spoilers, but then we go into Beatrix FR shortly. We're saying that we wanted the enemy force gauge to be over 30% because we want to be self-delaying because we're doing off-turn damage, right? So like we just want the enemy to be taking turns and turns and turns. That means delaying ourselves. Fortunately, they're very fast. Now, it's time. Going into that pretty cool Beatrix FR. Now, Gladio and Beatrix are going to be doing great things here. You're probably wondering, so like, why Faris? She's a water damage dealer, right? And I mean, yes, she is a water damage dealer. But the thing is, I was playing around with this, different teams and stuff, and I could have used Celas, of course. Everyone digging Celas in this fight. She's very good here. Could use Machina, Yang, a lot of these different characters. What I found was, like, because the enemy supportive little dudes on the sides, when they're not in this stance, don't attack you, that's enemy turns where you're just not doing anything. And so I decided, okay, I want a trap-based character to supplement these two counterattacks, so that when the little mechanicals act without attacking you, we're still dealing some damage. I tried Machina. I found that like they just chewed through his debuff a bit too fast. I'm also trying to minimize the number of restricted characters I use for the Manto Void challenge. In theory, I should have just not brought in a Crow, and this would have been a no restricted character run, I think. But yeah, I didn't want to use both of them here, and so I was like, okay, no Machina. Obviously no Hope, same thing. No Celas. Young could have worked, but well, again, he requires you to be attacked to actually do his thing, so I was like, okay, well, Faris. Alright, we'll use Faris. She has the benefit of, unlike Machina, her trap doesn't get, like, they can't run through the trap by taking turns. It's not a debuff. And unlike Young, it'll trigger on the enemy's turns when they don't attack you. But you're saying, Bl'Art, she does water damage, not thunder damage, and I say, yeah, she does, okay, so she does thunder damage on her turns, which is fine, with her LD and her EX, and, like, you know what, I feel like the 5% I'd be getting from by doing, like, water damage with these traps isn't going to be that impactful overall. I guess they take enough turns that it would have actually been pretty impactful in hindsight, but that was my thinking. I wanted a trap character who didn't, rely on a debuff to use their trap to supplement these guys. The fact that she does water damage on her LD and EX, a little bonus. But also, she also dispels, which is handy, because the enemy throws a bunch of, like, HP damage reduction buffs and stuff like that periodically, and being able to dispel that is kind of handy. Beatrix can only do that so much. Anyway, as you can see here, we're chewing through them with this off-turn FR that we really should have been using from the beginning. That whole thing with Crow was probably a waste of time, but you live and you learn. So, the enemy, at this point, has returned to the support tentacles. They're no longer attacking, they're now spending their turns shielding, which is why Faris was here. On her turns, she was going to be dealing splash damage to Cloud of Darkness via her trap. Not that much, so maybe it wasn't a great use of my resources here, but I was like, you know what, I like Faris, let's use Faris. That's it. The blind was a bit awkward with the trap there. Refreshing that stolen buff, and we did manage to get that last hit using Crow. Once again, it wasn't as impactful as I thought it'd be. I really probably just should have brought a different character than Crow here. It just didn't feel like it did what I needed to. Granted, it's 6-man. You can bring so much stuff to a 6-man fight that it almost doesn't matter. Almost. Anywho, we as a consequence of us doing that doofy Crow thing that didn't really help, we are going to be having to use a third force time here. Do some mental math here, trying to figure out if I need to hold that safeguard now, and the answer is yes. They're definitely going to be force timing. But here we go. That delay stuff does require some kind of a mental calculus to figure out when do I have to refresh my buffs, when do I have to do debuffs. Like, the timing it changes the timing of the fight, which is kind of neat. I enjoy the design of this fight, like the concept of it. It's just in execution, it takes so long to do. My god, this was a 40-minute run. And this was like after figuring out like the nuances of the fight and how to do it, you know, like God help someone going into a blind the first time and not resetting after a couple of minutes because their phone was running out of battery and they had to go to work. That might have happened to me today. All right, so we're like almost 2/3 of the way through the fight. Gosh darn, this is just taking forever. We are once again. We had hoped to like we had hoped to get the enemy to like 30% on the gauge and all that jazz, but I'm not sure if it's going to... Well, actually, no. The reason we're going to let it get to 30% here isn't actually because we're just trying to get to 30%. We have a couple of things we're trying to do here. First of all, we want Aerith on the field, because at 30% it's going to blind us, and as you saw with Faris, it's just stupid when we get blinded. We don't have to deal with that. So we're going to go ahead and keep Aerith just kind of... Deny them buffs, which is kind of funny, because they would be speed up buffing themselves, but we're actually here... tagging in Beatrix for Faris, hitting with a Thunder Slash to refresh the buff on everyone. My brain is kind of fried at this point. Here's the reason we had stalled a bit. This is the reason. We wanted Gladio to use Ash to enchant the party with Thunder. I mean, that's pretty easy, right? Pretty obvious. This does have an unfortunate side effect, which I wasn't thrilled with, which is that it actually, the enemy force gauge fully recharges, and this means that by the time Beatrix's FR goes off, the enemy's going to use their force attack here, you see, and the force is going to be gone, so we're going to no longer have that 30% delay benefit, which would have been nice, but we'll just have to make do, because at this point, like, come on, man, I just want this fight to be over. 80 turns is more than enough to finish this fight with a good team, but I have things to do, my guy. I can't be fighting Clouds of Darkness all day. We go him with that Clone Hazard. We should have probably applied Rose Petals, but whatever. So here, once again, we would want Faris in here to help with that, additional kind of off-turn damage for the enemy turns. But we also really don't want the enemy to hit us with that annoying blind debuff, so we're going to keep Aerith on field just long enough. This is actually perfect timing. There we go. Tentacles eliminated, new tentacles, Gaze Plus, misses because haha, screw you, Aerith is awesome. Now we can bring Faris back in, hit that thunder damage, there we go. Pretty cool. Probably should have dispelled the ones on the side, but it's okay, Beatrix can do that now. We have Rose Petals in place, and now we're just going to be countering them to death. That's kind of it. Almost there. The one thing is, unlike the support tentacles, the ones on the side can and actually should be killed. The Cloud of Darkness has like damage resistance until they're dead. So you do want them dead. It does sadly mean that we're going to be losing out on that sweet off-turn damage from them having turns, but in the long run it's a necessary casualty of what we're trying to do here. So we have 5 turns to go. And that Impulse, good Gladio go. What an awesome unit, Gladio. Luckily, the enemy does still has the frame turns. You can't launch, delay, or delete it, which is actually pretty cool given that we're doing off turn. And it does. It also has a bunch of attacks that delay you. So even though we are no longer delaying ourselves, it's handling that for us by delaying us. And this is actually perfect because Beatrix is going to get a bunch of counters. We're going to get a bunch of Whirlpool procs, which is just why not? Gladio is going to do a bunch of counters himself, and we're going to have almost there. One more attack. Luckily, it dealt 0 damage because he's in tanks, and there we go. So that was the 6-man Cloud of Darkness Chapter 3 finale. That's the end of the Chapter 3. The gods are crystals or something, I think. I don't know. Everyone's dead. Who knows? But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Adios.